Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Good morning, Staples. It's Tuesday, December 18th. I'm Marla.
And I'm Hannah. As this is our class's last show before the winter break, we have planned to present a broadcast that celebrates the holiday season.
We're now caught in between the excitement and joy of our last week of school for 2012 and the horrible events of last Friday. After hearing about the Sandy Hook tragedy, I decided to talk to some of my Newtown friends to find out what they were feeling and what was going around in their town. Okay, so to start off, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us and the Staples students. If you first just introduce yourselves, your name, grade, school, and the class that you were in on Friday when you first heard about the shooting.
I'm Alex Lampel. I'm a senior at Newtown High School, and I was in my personal finance class when I first heard of the shooting.
I'm Jason Horowitz. I'm a junior at Newtown High School, and I was in my free period in the library when the shooting happened, and we went into lockdown.
What was first going through your mind when it became apparent that something was wrong? Before maybe you knew exactly what happened, when you just heard that something wasn't right, what was your first thought?
We all went into lockdown, and none of us knew what was going on until we started, texting our parents and looking stuff up on the web, and little by little, it all came together.
We didn't even know where it had happened, so we thought they were coming. They said they were shooting on Dickinson or something, and then that we thought they might be coming here. So a couple of people actually armed themselves in the library. We got ready for whatever could have come, and it was we just didn't know.
One of my friends in the class, his mom is a teacher there, and we were getting worried, and we didn't know what was going to happen with that. And luckily he contacted his mom, and she was safe. Eventually, this one girl in our class started crying from all the stress, and it was really stressful to see everything happening, and learning bit by bit. At first we thought there were just a few injuries and it was going to be all right, but it wasn't until after we were released that we really found out what was the enormity of what happened.
The place we went to for our information was Twitter, so that we had so many conflicting reports and stuff. We were all freaking out. I know after we got out of lockdown, all my my English teacher was just in tears. Absolutely, everyone just didn't know what was going on. We were all kind of walking around aimlessly, I remember.
We were talking with our teacher, and she was actually in the same boat as us. She didn't know what was happening. We were all kind of piecing it together. She let us get up from our spots to look on the internet to kind of get, make some sense out of what was happening. And it was amazing because, we didn't realize, but apparently there was shooting happening up until 10:30, so we had been in lockdown for about 50 minutes before the shooting had stopped. So it was really devastating to hear that it went on for that long. And it wasn't until I had a free period at the end of the day, So I left early, and as I was heading to my car, this girl, had told me that she asked me, "Do you know how many people were killed?" And I said, "No, I think like one or two." And she told me 27, and I didn't believe it. I told her that was probably a rumor, and she said, "No, it's been confirmed." And that's where it really hit me that something really bad had happened.
How do you guys do you guys know of any other ways that Staples students, people can go and help you guys out in Sandy Hook? If there's any things that we could do to help you, if Jason, you want to take this one?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing to do is tell people from Newtown that you care, and that if they need anyone there for support, that you're there for them. Because I don't know what I would do without friends who came from Bridgeport, Trumbull to come make sure I was okay. I don't know what I would have done. So that's the first thing to do. The second thing,
yeah, I know.
The main thing is just letting them know that you care.
All right, yeah, thank you. I know a bunch of almost the entire Staples community is planning on wearing green and white tomorrow, Sandy's colors. We helped to organize that. I think the middle schools are going to be wearing blue and gold because we know that represents Newtown. We've been rallying people together to show our support. And just one last question for you guys. How do you think this tragedy will affect your high school and just Newtown in general for the future?
It's been very hectic here. Sandy Hook, in a single day had become a small town that, in western Connecticut, and now it's, connecting
that
to
town where that shooting happened.
Right, yeah, connecting to the tragedy at Columbine. When you think of Columbine, you think of the shooting that happened there, and now, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen with Sandy Hook. And it's going to be a long time before we recover. We're never going to fully recover, but, until we start getting back to normality. The president came to our high school tonight, and, there are hundreds of news vans and people here. And you see national news on CNN of reporters reporting from a mile down the street, and it's amazing to think that it took such a tragedy for this all to happen. And for the students at Sandy Hook who who had to go through all of that, it's going to be very hard for them. So far they don't have school for the rest of this week. And I believe they have another school, elementary school in Monroe, set up for them to go. I'm not sure if that's been confirmed yet, but yeah. So, it's going to take a while, but I think for the future, for right now, for what's happening right now, I don't think Newtown has ever felt more of a strong connection with each other, a stronger bond. We have all come together as a family to, overcome this tragedy.
At one point in time, we were the safest town in the United States. So, going from that, and then, because, a lot of the reasons that I know my dad came here for was because it's a safe community, there's a good education system, and then this kind of thing happened. I remember just before the event had happened, I was complaining during French class with a bunch of friends saying how boring Newtown was and nothing ever happened here.
Yeah, no.
Of course, that changed.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to answer these questions. This is definitely going to help Staples, get a little bit of a better look into what happened without having to hear everything from the media. Is there any last few words or anything you want to say to the Staples community about how they could help, or just anything in general you want to say?
Well, I want to start by just saying I appreciate everything that that you guys have already done. I've seen your articles on your school newspaper, Inklings, and I know that you guys really do care about this and that you're going to do everything in your power to, help the Newtown community and help everyone around us.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Marla. There's a lot of people around Staples who want to find out a way to help, and we know of a couple groups that are interested in that as well. Here's Lexi and Brian to tell you more.
Hey, I'm Lexi.
Hello, I'm Brian, and we're part of the Future Business Leaders of America.
After the events that occurred at Sandy Hook Elementary, we've decided to start a toy drive as well as donations for the families that were affected.
You can bring the toys to the front lobby, and donations can be given to Mr. Klein in the Math Learning Department.
We appreciate all your efforts, and we wish the best to all of those affected.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lexi and Brian, and don't forget to bring in your stuff by Friday.
Also, many of our guidance counselors spent Sunday helping out in Newtown. We talked to them about their experiences. Here's what they had to say.
Hi, I'm Jen Curry. I'm one of the school counselors here. And on Sunday, all of the counselors with the school psychologists and social workers went up to Newtown to go to the middle school to help out with the crisis and counseling center. It came about because on Friday we felt that it was important to reach out. And we made contact with the director of guidance at Newtown High School, who then got back to us on Saturday and said that they would absolutely need our help and would love us to come up.
On Sunday, the staff here went up to Newtown to help with the students, staff, and families begin to process the experience on Friday. And we went up in 2-hour shifts. And throughout the day, we saw collectively, with the other support people who were there, hundreds of people, some of whom just wanted to talk, and others whom really needed to sort of process what other resources were available in the community for them.
When I arrived for my shift yesterday at Reed Middle School in Newtown, us mental health professionals were shuttled into one room where we were spoken to by a psychiatrist who was kind of telling us what to expect for the day and what we would be doing and how the flow of things would work. They seemed to need some administrative type help out front with traffic flow, so several of us went out front and actually ended up running to Walgreens, buying poster board, buying name tags, buying Sharpie markers, that kind of stuff. So I personally did not do any hands-on counseling. I was utilized in another capacity, checking in mental health professionals. We had to photocopy their driver's license and their state of Connecticut credentials, and then we led them into the room where they were waiting to help people.
I spent a couple hours up at Newtown yesterday at John Reed Intermediate School, meeting with people who needed support around the recent crisis and tragedy. As it turned out, I spent most of my time with adults. Most moving story and the most difficult for me personally was I sat down with a teacher who had her mother and her sister with her for support. This teacher was employed at Sandy Hook for 15 years and was recently transferred in June to another school. 5 of the children who were killed in the classroom were her kindergartners, who were now in 1st grade. So she was feeling so many things at once. She was feeling survivor guilt because she was not at the school when it occurred. She was feeling deep sorrow for the children that she had taught the previous year. She had a bracelet that they had made for her #1 teacher. They were such a special class to her. And then she was worried about her 11-year-olds who knew how close their mother was to the tragedy and were young enough in 5th grade to feel close to the children as well. So what would I like people to take away from this? I found her to be an extraordinary human being, and it reinforced for me, she kept talking about her kids. And I've shared that with other people today, that everyone I know in education talks about their kids and the feeling of personal responsibility that teachers and counselors alike feel for students they encounter. So for me as a counselor, I have my kids. And she described the feeling of almost like being a second parent to those kids, and the level of attachment that she felt for them. And I think students, parents, and everyone sometimes underestimate how attached we feel to the students in our lives and how important they are to us. The other thing that struck me was how close the community is in Newtown and how they reached out, teachers alike, reached out to support each other. There were so many extraordinary stories, and underneath the tragedy, such heroism. She described one of her close friends who was shot in the foot, and she called her at the hospital to check up on her. And her friend described stepping out into the hallway, being shot in the foot, and then stepping back into the classroom, locking the door, and saying to the young children that she was in charge of, when they asked about what was wrong with her foot, she told them that she stepped in red paint and that everything was going to be okay. They just needed to do what she told them to do. So it was an unbelievably moving experience. It's sort of hard to function in your everyday life and think about things that might have really seemed important to you 2 or 3 days ago, but right now just don't feel quite so important. So if I can say anything to the students, it would be to treasure your relationships with your teachers and the other people in education. You may not even realize how much you mean to them.
We want to thank you for all you've done and for all that you do every day.
Instead of the pledge today, we'd like to have a moment of silence.
Thank you all. The Period 2 class will be here with their final show of 2012 on Thursday.
Have a great vacation and a happy holiday, everyone.
Bye.
You may say